everything you see on kind of LinkedIn now is, um, oh, now there's a connection with Shopify. That's the end of the modern e-commerce store. Or, that's goodbye to checkouts. Nobody's ever going to check out on a website again.
Welcome to the Real eCommerce podcast, your go-to for straight talk and smart tips from the world of online retail.
Does it worry you that it just goes straight in like that?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, well, let's not
I'm
worry.
sure it'll be fine.
So we've got to talk about AI and e-commerce as one collective headline, have we?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think it needs to be debated.
A debate, okay. You kind of said that you were nervous of a debate, so that could bring its own challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll play the cynic in this conversation, and you
Okay.
can play yourself or the evangelist.
I'm not that much of an evangelist for AI, although I do kind of use it a lot, and I do see a lot of the benefits in it. But yeah, you're going to go on the why we shouldn't put a tinfoil hat on, are you?
I'm going to be, more on the cynical side, which is my natural setting.
Okay.
More, cynical and less kind of hype.
You've already been cynical with my show notes, so like,
Yes,
you've started before it's even started.
I told you I'm getting into character.
Okay. Well, the reason the show notes were there was because I think a lot of people think AI and e-commerce is a new thing, but if we go back, like, AI really in e-commerce all those years ago, back to 2010, were tools like Nosto that were just doing something with an algorithm that helped you make recommendations on a website based on what the user was doing. I mean, that in its basic format is AI, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things I suppose frustrates me, that we seem to put a label on things as AI now, and that kind of changes how we think about them. Where previously we were calling things like that just a personalization tool like Nosto, or smart search with things like Algolia, where they weren't, I guess, as on vogue or as sexy, but now they're AI powered, so they're incredible, and
They've probably
we
not
should all
changed the
jump on
business
board.
model at all, have they? They've just literally put
No,
an AI, a couple of letters at the end of it, and now it's the same thing but branded as AI.
yeah, change the domain to .ai, and yeah, suddenly you're a unicorn.
I'm the cynic all of a sudden. How's that worked?
Yeah, you're
Change
getting on
roles
board.
already.
I
We're only
like it.
a minute in. And then the other big one was kind of like automated chatbots, wasn't it? So again, AI, is it AI? Well, no, it's just, a list of automated canned responses that can, now probably in an enhanced way look through a lot more of your data to respond on how you are as a brand and previous information, previous customer service queries and stuff like that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think I mean I can switch sides a minute, I guess, because there was plenty of chatbots that were calling themselves AI that were just rule-based engines spitting out kind of pre-selected and kind of pre-configured responses, claiming to be artificial intelligence when they absolutely weren't. And now they are much better. There's still a long way to go, I think, but yeah, those have been around, like you say, for a really long time. They're just a bit more prevalent now.
And it's still one of the biggest use cases, isn't it? Customer service with AI. If you can hear my dog snoring, by the way, that's what that funny noise is. It's not me making weird noises behind your back, Marcus. My dog here is having a,
There's the danger of the same happening with Ralph. So yeah,
have
we might
Frenchie.
just get
What's
it
his
from
Frenchie
both
snoring
sides.
going on? We're talking to each other through the podcast.
Yeah, true snoring.
Yeah. I've lost my train of thought there. So yeah, I mean, chatbots is still one of the biggest things. Customer service is one of the biggest things, and a lot of companies now. I've found it recently when you're going on to help and support and contact is, there is no number anymore. A lot of these brands don't have a direct form of communication like a telephone. Some aren't even publicizing an email. It's contact form or it's chatbot. And presumably they're going to go into some sort of automated response if you do get that far, to try and help you serve yourself or to generate a canned or AI response.
Yeah, and I think that's that's still the biggest use case, isn't it, for AI right now, and where it's being used is productivity and time efficiency when it comes to tasks that are fairly straightforward, but at the moment require human intervention and perhaps don't necessarily need that. I do think I'm probably jumping ahead here, but I do think that's going to be an interesting thing that will play out. In the same way that there's much better ways of telling the time than mechanical handmade watches, but there's still a market for them. There's much better ways of playing music than vinyl, but there's still a market for it.
Okay.
And it may be that the premium customer service experience comes from humans, but that's the premium experience, and the default experience is powered by AI. And I feel we might end up with this kind of situation where the top tier levels of certain processes are human centric because that's the optimum, and then the kind of base level that you get is AI powered.
I think the only thing, like, I really kind of absorb customer service experiences, and I really like in detail kind of enjoy going through the process of some businesses' customer service experience because it just tells you a lot about them. Um, the
Hmm.
ones that frustrate me the most, I think, are probably ones where you get caught in a loop. Like, so it asks you to do something and then you do what it asks you, and then it kind of puts you back to the start again, and you feel like there's no way out of this infinite loop as to getting your problem sorted. And I got caught in one the other day. I ordered something, I wanted to return it. There's no returns information on their website. I fired off something to the chatbot. It gave me a returns link. It let me book the return, which is great. And then it said, we're going to collect it from you. But it didn't say when. It didn't say how I found out when they're going to collect it. I mean, is it tomorrow? Is it next week? Who's going to collect it? Like, is it a courier? Is it, you know? And so they've done this kind of bit where they've done a really good job, although they didn't put the returns link on their website, which is terrible, but they've done a really good job in signposting me to get a return done and printed the label and got it all ready, but just didn't know when they were going to come and get it. And if I went
And then
to
you got to
the
start the whole process again, just with a slightly different query.
yeah, and then it's like, well, it will be on your tracking number, and then nowhere is the tracking number. Like, not it's not on the label, it's not on the screens that come up, and I just felt like, has anybody been through this process before
Well, and
they've
also
made
is
public?
that's the scenario that AI is supposed to solve, isn't it? It's supposed to look at the wider context of that inquiry and not just answer questions. If you think of rule-based chatbots, that's what that does normally. It answers questions based on very, very simple, straightforward, kind of almost a linear chain of potential responses. Whereas what you want AI to do is look at the wider context of that and say, well, if we're saying that we're going to process this return, we probably tell the customer when that's going to happen, who's going to do it, can they schedule a time, or is it set? When will it happen? All of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's particularly frustrating because you're like, well, that's the whole use case for AI is understanding the wider context and being able to give a useful response based on that.
Yeah, and I think that the younger generations, like, I was at an AI talk the other day, and we got put into teams, and I was with someone who was in their early 20s. Their default is to not want to talk to anybody.
Hmm.
Like, that's their default of self-serve, like, rather fill in a form, rather talk to an AI, rather talk to a chatbot, like all of those things. But
Yeah,
and
definitely.
talking to a human is the absolute last thing on their to-do list. So,
Yeah,
like, if it's shifting that way, then the companies are moving in that way correctly. But I just think, yeah, that there's
it's
got
not finished.
what do they do when they get to that point, when they've got can't find out when the parcel's being picked up? Like, what's their default then? Do they, like, is it
Keep it.
back to the form, or is it, yeah, throw everything in and just go, don't worry about it, I'll keep it.
Yeah, I'm stuck with it now.
I didn't dislike it that much. I was
I
50-50.
don't want to
So
speak to another human, so
yeah,
I'll just keep it.
I'll avoid the human contact, so I'll have that bread maker that I don't want.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, so yeah, chatbots, that and customer services, is that because it's like an what we're working with at the moment is this kind of LLM model, large language models. It's understanding large amounts of your data, and that really comes from your customer data, how you've worked with them in the past on customer service, how they understand your brand from all your marketing material. They can kind of learn quite a lot and almost become a pseudo employee quite quickly and manage your communications. That's the easy
That's
route in.
that's how I think of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, but I think yeah, crunching lots of data is obviously what it can do really, really well.
Mhm.
And then taking tasks that are quite labor intensive for humans to do. So, monitoring a kind of chat inbox and responding quickly and efficiently has to kind of be a full-time job for a decent sized e-commerce business. So to be able to free that time up by getting an AI to do it and also be able to crunch all that data much quicker. So to be able to find all the orders for that particular customer and respond a certain way based on those orders, based on all the interactions they've had with your business, it's a no-brainer. Like that is where it can bring real value and already is bringing real value. So I think a lot of the stuff we'll talk about today will come down to timeline. It will come down to, is this in use now and doing a good job? Is it for this other particular discipline? Is it not yet? Or is it halfway there? Or is it 3 years away? And I think that's really where the debate is with AI. It's not about its potential value. It's more about when it will either be of proper value or when it will get mass adoption. And I think that it's always about the timeline. Some people think it's yesterday, and some people think it's not for a couple of years yet.
But the advantage of for the retailer, certainly with customer service stuff, is you're going to be saving money on wages, which potentially can then go into either marketing your product and expanding your sales, or it can go into efficiencies that you can pass on to the customer. So the products become cheaper because it doesn't cost as much to serve that same audience. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of the things that we've spoken about, like chatbots, like personalization on site, um, AI in search. These are all company to the customer, which are all kind of a benefit provided by the company to the customer. But now the things that seem to be coming out are how the customer approaches the company. So
Yes.
then we
Yeah.
move into things like the AI browsers that are coming out, the AI agents that are going to be able to do stuff for us. Molly today have announced that they're now working with a kind of AI agent to help people process payments. And then obviously people that process payments through Molly will be able to use that interaction. We're seeing a lot of partnerships with like ChatGPT, with Shopify, and people being
Stripe.
able to
Yeah.
make purchases and Stripe. So at the moment, up until very recently, it's all been the company's benefit pushing towards the customer, but now it seems to be there's a lot of customer benefit that's going to now approach the companies, and are the companies ready to take on that kind of AI coming towards them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I must admit this argument for me, or this is the bit where I do get a little bit cynical, only because I think the discussion around this has just become really simplified. Everything you see on kind of LinkedIn now is, um, oh, now there's a connection with Shopify. That's the end of the modern e-commerce store. Or that's goodbye to checkouts. Nobody's ever going to check out on a website again.
Mm-hmm.
And the question of adoption doesn't ever seem to be discussed in any kind of nuanced way. It just there's just this assumption that now it's available, the whole world will just start using that and stop using websites. And I remember a UX study we did last year where somebody had pointed out on a website that the credit card logos or the payment method logos were in a different color to what they expected. They then lost trust in the website and didn't check out. So if that's the sort of level of, I'm not saying that's indicative of the whole market, but that still exists. That mindset still exists. So there's people like that won't be just going, oh yeah, no problem. I'll just now check out without going to a website myself. I'll just let my agent do it for me. So I think adoption just gets missed. We don't seem to have a nuanced discussion about how adoption will work. And I think the other thing that gets missed out of that discussion as well is I'm playing the cynic part really well now, I think,
Getting into it.
is is complexity. I'm quite interested to see how the US integration with Etsy works because there's lots of personalized products on Etsy. So it'll be interesting to see how that additional complexity works.
Mhm.
I think when you think of a checkoutless process or a websiteless process, so I use my agent to say I want to buy batteries, something like that. It's quite a simple process, and I think that works really well. And actually, the people that will lose out or the competition there would be Amazon over actual individual e-commerce stores. But how will the UI handle complexities around product configurations, personalization of products? Because that's a bit of a different process, and it's quite difficult to handle on normal checkouts, let alone with a completely kind of websiteless checkout
Mm.
or just browser integration. So I think there just needs to be more detailed discussions around how we think this can be adopted and how we think complexities will be handled.
I
The
think a
other
lot.
one is shipping methods. That's another complexity that comes up. Most of our clients have quite detailed shipping restrictions, complex rules around pricing based on postcodes, weights, product types, all sorts of different things. And all of that is part of the checkout process because until you
But aren't they
have postcode
defined mostly
information,
by the products in the basket, and a little bit of customer choice dependent on like delivery window? But most of
yeah,
those are
the
made to.
question is, yeah, no, yeah, you're right. The question is about how that UI works because at the moment we're talking about direct API integration. So it's completely changing. At the moment, that's handled in a UI
But
to
is
say
there
here's
even a
the shipping
UI? Does
rates
there
that are
need to
available.
be a UI?
If multiple shipping rates are available based on multiple products, split shipping, how do you handle and put all of that in front of the customer
Mm.
and let them select in real time? I think that's what I mean is the complexity is can be handled, I'm sure. It's just how you actually present that to the customer.
But it's the low hanging fruit that will go first, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think that in terms of adoption, the adoption is being driven or will be driven by the technology providers. Like we're already seeing the payment integrators doing that first. We're seeing platforms do that first. Um,
Hmm.
so the retailer will have the choice to adopt it or not. But when it comes down to edge cases like split baskets or something like that, the percentage of people that need that catered for, they're probably not going to worry about that for now. That's going to be a not a low hanging fruit. That's a way sort of further down the line thing. But I think basic selection, like I would be able to say my delivery preference is always fast over free. So I'd rather have it sooner than have it cheaper. Or you'd say my delivery preference is free over fast. I'd rather have it at no cost than than pay
Hmm.
for it and have it quickly. Um, Size, color, pattern, material, all of those kind of minor configuration choices. I don't think will be too problematic. Size, it should know from what you would normally order.
Hmm.
Color is a preference, so how that brings it back to an interface to say they've got it in blue or white. Do you want white or blue? Make a choice before I make a purchase. I think that sort of thing will be able to be fed back via the API to the agent. But yeah, like if you're going to be ordering something that has 4 or 5 different configuration options, maybe things like I think of like cabinets or bathroom stuff or kitchen stuff, you've got to really kind of know the sizes and the layouts, and you might have 5 different options for a bathroom cabinet that's got the handle type, it's got the finish, it's got the
Hmm.
sink, it's got the wall fittings, it's got all of those things. And yeah, I mean, you're just going to be bombarded with questions, and it might be easier just to go onto a website and see what it looks like and click the things that you want. So yeah, I guess you're
And
right on
that's
that.
that's also where the adoption question comes back in again, though, isn't it? Because if you're buying something like that, are you comfortable with that all going through your AI agent? Yeah, we still hear loads of stories of AI, embellishing, making things up, doing things because they think it's the right thing to do, missing context because it's still not entirely there yet. So I think if I was going to go down the process, even if it was possible, and I guess this is the question, you've got complexity,
Mm.
which can be ironed out, but then the adoption is key because if you can iron out the complexity, you still need people to trust that process and go through it. So at the moment, even if I am the sort of person that says, I'll let my agent handle ordering those batteries for me, I might not be the sort of person that orders my bathroom cabinets using AI, because I might go and have a look and make sure I'm getting all those questions right
Mm,
based on the information I can find on the website. The other question on adoption is not even on the consumer side, it's on the business side, because there will be, we know that there's conscious decisions from certain brands and retailers to not use Amazon as a sales channel. And that's for various different reasons. One might be luxury products, want to get people onboarded with their brand and kind of bought into their brand and everything. And you can't do that on a third party like Amazon.
mm,
It's a bit of a race to the bottom price wise. So
mm,
you might also have this kind of disconnect between certain brands won't want their products to be purchased without going through their website and buying into the brand and more on the luxury side for sure. But again, there's an adoption question, not necessarily for consumers, but brands themselves.
do you think like the choice of not selling on Amazon is also maybe from like a brand protection point of view, or a
Hmm.
product protection point of view, so it doesn't get copied or whatever? um
Yeah.
and like you say, race to the bottom in terms of price, but the biggest thing is not owning that customer relationship. So
Hmm.
you're you're giving that to Amazon, and you're a faceless supplier at that point. So how do you think, if you're going to send an agent out to find something for you, it's going to have to include Amazon, right? Because like, I can't remember what the stat is, but a while ago I think it was like 40% of all shopping searches start on Amazon. So
Yeah.
if you are looking for something and it is a price sensitive, you don't really care, like, you want a, I don't know, like a plug converter for the plug, electricity plug converter, why aren't you going to try and find that as cheap as you possibly can? So do you think you'll find agents getting banned from Amazon, or you have to use Amazon's agent, or how do you think that plays out?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? Because what we're saying here is, when we look at agentic commerce, we're saying these are like personal assistants. So they're going to go off and do your shopping for you. But we've already seen some cases, haven't we, where agents are being blocked
Yeah.
and not able to shop certain sites. That's kind of fine if you're, a fairly small retailer. If Amazon start doing that, that's definitely going to cause some problems. Because me as the consumer, if I'm in a situation where I am fast over free on my shipping, I want it fast. I've got a Prime account and I'm buying really simple kind of um, low consideration purchases, things like a batteries or a plug converter.
Mm,
If my agent can't go and find things on Amazon, it's massively limited. Like you said, 40% of searches for products start there. So how does that battle play out? Do you then have to have 10 different agents?
yeah.
Do you have to have one that's for your kind of low end products because they go to Amazon and that's powered by Amazon? But then it's not much different than to go into Amazon if you've got to go to each of your different agents to shop in different ways.
Mm.
I think some of the efficiency gets lost then in that whole process.
The bit with new innovation is it's often very fragmented, isn't it? Like, until you get that kind of winner takes most scenario where you get the leaders who are then integrated into more platforms, work together with big, marketplaces and stuff like that, you can then start to sort of back one horse and go, right, well, I'm going to invest my time in setting this one up properly because I know it has access to Amazon, it does the payments with this provider, it does all of these websites, it's got the biggest adoption. It's a bit like how Shopify works now, right? In that,
Yeah,
if you're going to build an app for an e-commerce audience, you're going to build it for Shopify first because they've got the biggest audience. It's the same
yeah,
with like you investing your time into an AI agent. You want to invest it into the one that's going to be able to get you access to all of the things that you need to shop from, not just because this one's got a little bit of cool tech and only works on WooCommerce stores or whatever. Then they would probably limit you wanting to work with it, right?
yeah. And I think, but also the market will decide some of that as well, not necessarily the
Mm,
consumers themselves. I think that decision of winner takes most, or maybe a couple of winners take most, will happen before consumer adoption is at a level where they'll have to even make that decision. So, what are you seeing it now, aren't we? OpenAI are running out of money. and need to
Big time.
commercialize. So, and that they're running out of money just to keep the lights on, just to for compute power. So not for advanced research and development, which might be an easier sell to governments to give them a loan. Much harder to go to a government for a loan to keep the lights on because you haven't commercialized your business yet. So that could be, telling. I think what we'll find is everybody at the moment is in a race to connect with the most possible things they can, that might be Shopify, Stripe, Etsy, things like that, to try and make that service available. They're also, everybody's trying to kind of get as much data as they can, as much user eyeballs as they can to try and have that critical mass to commercialize. And I think what we'll see is, I saw an article the other day about basically the paid model in search on AI is just going to turn into affiliate marketing links, which is probably another one of those things that's, it's been around for a very long time, but might become quite sexy and appealing. Now it's AI sponsored results rather than affiliate links. So it might be a bit different, but I think whoever commercializes and is able to keep going and keep innovating and keep getting better will be part of that kind of winner takes most discussion. I think Google will be interesting to watch because obviously they're making plenty of moves, but they've also just had one of their best years in terms of revenue and profit. So they're on the opposite end of the scale in terms of they're innovating plenty, not as quick as someone like OpenAI, but they've got a business model and lots of profit coming in that they can plow back into it. They're not asking for any loans or anything. So it'll be interesting to see if they just quietly kind of tick along and then suddenly end up winning the race.
There's a bit
Like
of
they
tortoise and
did with
hare, isn't
search.
it, with Google?
It does feel like that. It does feel
I
like they're
think they
very
sat
much
back,
the
didn't they?
tortoise.
Like, we don't want to cannibalize our own, income right here. So we're going to sit back and watch for a bit, and then we'll see where we fit in. And now, in terms of model performance, they're beating ChatGPT, and they, like you say, they're not walking around asking the government for money. They've got plenty of that
No.
to invest in their own, and they already know shopping habits, shopping behaviors. I think you were saying this the other day on a meeting. Like, if you had to back one for the shopping market, is it going to be Google? Have got all of that data. They've got billions of users that log into Gmail, corporate accounts, workstations every day, and they already know how you shop, what you buy, where you click, where you go. Who's going to have more data and more power to use that with our AI to make it a better experience for the customer?
Yeah, and they're not doing bad with Gemini either. So it's not like they're coming to this brand new right now at the point that OpenAI are starting to look like they're struggling to commercialize. So it's not. It is very much tortoise and hare. I think OpenAI has been the hare that's kind of raced ahead and getting all these integrations sorted and shouting the loudest, or at least getting the most kind of adoption as the new tool,
It's the
on the
MySpace
block.
of the AI world.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Google is the one you would look at and go, well, look, if you look at search, just kind of search results, Google have done this. They've kind of been through, some of the things we've been looking at recently in terms of LLM listening. So kind of looking at citation share for certain search results for our clients. You can see the people that are winning in terms of getting the most citation share in something like GPT or Perplexity are winning through methods that wouldn't work on Google. It's not quite keyword stuffing from an SEO perspective, but it's not far off. So
like FAQ stuffing.
Yeah, it's kind of conversational, keyword stuffing and FAQ stuffing. So, but at the moment, you can kind of see it that the LLMs don't really care about that. They're not really worried so much about authority and getting those results absolutely perfect. They're worried about speed and returning decent results, which is where Google were, 15, 20 years ago. So I feel like there's still a long way to go just on basic search results and making sure that it's not gameable. And Google's been through that. They've kind of done it. Their iterative changes over the last decade have made search results as accurate and kind of non-gameable as possible. All the black hat techniques make it very, very difficult because they spot them really quickly. So there's still quite a long way to go, and I think Google is, just quietly kind of ticking along, doing incredibly well from a revenue and profit perspective, investing in the right areas, but just doing it a lot slower, and perhaps not shouting quite as much.
Does one affect the other, do you think, by gearing up for, GEO as opposed to SEO? Is one gonna like cannibalize the other?
I don't think so. I think personally, I think it's not much different at the moment. There aren't huge amounts of difference. It's not, again, this is not, I guess, a post for LinkedIn, because it's not groundbreaking to go, keep doing all the things you've been doing already when it comes to SEO, because that will help with GEO or whatever it's being called this week. And then, and also, the other thing is like data cleanup. Is making sure, if you look at Shopify, for example, they've got, the product API now that goes in OpenAI. So it means in GPT, you are going to be able to see product results pulled through based on certain terms. That API is pulling all data through. So all your hidden data that you're using for various functions on your Shopify store will suddenly become public, and be available. So actually, what you should be doing right now as a retailer, if you're using Shopify, is tidying up your data. I mean, it's not a particularly sexy approach to it. Really, to get ready for AI, you need to do some, tidying up of data on your Shopify store. It's a bit dull, isn't it? And making sure structured data is absolutely on point, and all of those things. So no, I don't think. I think all the things that you should have been doing already to have good visibility in traditional search, you will still need to do to have good visibility in LLM search or AI search. So yeah, I don't think anything changes massively in the very short term. Although there are some quick wins. Like I said, it's still the Wild West, I think, in terms of how you can get bigger citation rate for certain search terms, because I think at the moment the LLMs haven't really caught on to that, and they don't worry too much about authority and stuff. It's more just around keywords.
But Google will automatically have that to add to the algorithm, won't it? Because it will have, how do you rank in terms of SEO, traditionally, and then what do you throw in to attract from an AI perspective? So it can come at both angles.
Yeah, and I was on a call with Shopify recently, and one of the slides that was really interesting was a bit of research they did, which was a comparison of basically traditional search results, including AI overviews, versus AI search results. So I think there was Perplexity, Claude, GPT, and one other. I can't remember the other. And they collated this data, and basically there's a direct correlation between doing well on traditional search engines like Google and doing well in AI search engines. So they are directly kind of linked. And if you're doing one well, you'll be doing the other well.
If you're a retailer in the UK right now and you're kind of trying to gear up for AI, you've always said, like, a lot of the retailers that we work with, they're not necessarily like got the shiny magpie syndrome. They don't want the latest tech. Some of them are still, looking to put in like an AI search for the first time that's been around for 7-8 years. So they're not like the most innovative, and they're not at the bleeding edge of new e-commerce. So, but the worry I have with some of them is the change that we've seen in the last, since 2021, has been quite a lot in terms of the progression of AI since ChatGPT kind of made AI, on the map. We're likely to see kind of 10 years of change in the next year or so because of how fast that change is happening. So, and you can see it with like the payment providers that are now embracing it. You can see it with the partnerships that are now happening. You can see it with Shopify introducing the new coding AI where you can build out different
Yeah.
sections within your page editor, and you are going to have to take note at some point. But if you're a cynic, like what's your view on the adoption rate? Because mine is, in the next year I think we'll see 10 years worth of growth with this, because it's not slowing down from a the leaders in the space are not slowing down. Google, XAI, Gemini, ChatGPT, they're all kind of progressing with this. They make up,
Hmm.
I think they make up like 70 or 80% of the S&P 500's revenue, just those 3 or 4 companies, and they're all AI based, Nvidia and things like that. So there is a big bet on all of this becoming very central to our lives. But then we've got, a retailer who might be 5 years behind the curve on adopting new things, and like you say, they might have a more complex sales process. So do they just get left behind? Do they need to adapt quicker? What's your cynical thought?
My cynical thought on that is more about, I think it will happen naturally, and I think it will happen not necessarily with all retailers knowing that they're innovating or opting for AI tools. So it could be just as simple as um, a retailer deciding to use a different search function on the site that happens to be AI powered is much better.
Mhm,
That's happened over time, hasn't it? Not necessarily with AI, but new pieces of functionality, new tools and advancements are made. And if you don't go with them, what happens is your site becomes worse than everyone else's.
mhm,
And you then have to catch up or risk losing business. So you then upgrade search, and then you've got something better than what you had previously, and you can compete again. I think that's just going to naturally happen. I do think there's some things where you have to actually proactively adopt.
okay.
So that if you think of like Shopify at the moment, I mean, we've already gone in the last 6 months from a suite of Horizon themes that are AI powered at their core,
Mhm,
to now AI blocks are compatible with most themes. So that's happened within 3 to 6 months. So
mhm,
it isn't, you don't have to make a conscious decision now to select a different theme, retheme to be able to use AI
mhm,
and use Sidekick to build separate sections and blocks. But if you try and use those separate sections and blocks at the moment, they're certainly not finished. They're not quite where they need to be fully usable. So you will have certain retailers in there, creating simple sections and blocks on their site that works really well. But what will happen is they're probably not seeing that as AI. They're just seeing it as a Shopify feature. And I think what will happen is these things will just slowly become the norm. This is again about timelines for me. It doesn't have to have an AI label on it. It's just a better theme editor, isn't it? It
mhm,
doesn't have to be AI focused, and it's just using a different technology to provide a better theme editor in your existing platform. So I think where the adoption comes is by tools just being available to our clients and retailers more broadly, and them just using it because it's a better option than what they had previously, or because it's an update in the platform, rather than having to opt into AI and opt into innovation and go and search these things out and go and find them. They're just going to gradually upgrade their platforms and their processes and everything else.
So if you don't like it, you're going to be dragged kicking and screaming into AI just because of all the tools and services you use.
Yeah, you'll be dragged along and you just won't know it. You just won't know because it won't have an AI label on it.
Yeah, like it didn't to start with. It didn't have an AI label on it to start with. It just becomes a
That's what I
norm.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I had to give you a prediction, it would be go full circle.
yeah.
And at the moment, ultimately, like I said, if you've got .ai at the end of your domain, that's your kind of selling point at the moment. Is
Mm,
this is an AI tool? This is an AI powered piece of
mm,
functionality.
mm,
I think that will probably drop off and become less of a focus in the next 12 to 18 months, and it'll be more about which I quite like, more about the solution you're providing and the problem you're solving
mhm.
rather than the technology you're using to do that. Because that's, like you said, what it was previously. If we keep using personalization and search, but they're just easy, aren't they? Or chatbot. If it was using AI rather than standard rule-based stuff, it was just better, and they relied on the fact that it was better, and it
Mhm.
was providing a solution as the sales tool.
Mhm.
Now we're going through this period where the sales tool is saying it's got AI in it, regardless of what the solution looks like. That's your sales tool.
Mhm.
I think we'll see a bit of a resurgence of talking about the solution, and how you solve customers' problems rather than the tech you're using.
Yeah, and it's probably the same for the retailers, right? That if you're if you're a retailer and you're worried about how you use AI going forwards, we're saying that you're not a tech platform. The tech platforms are the tech platforms. Shopify,
Hmm.
ChatGPT, Molly, whatever they are, they're all going to do this for you. You're going to move with the times. You're going to embrace AI without really having to do or change much because it's going to be introduced to you. But what, like you said a few seconds ago, is there are some kind of opt-in or proactive things that you need to do. Obviously, the GEO or the optimization getting included in the results for AI in search is something that you proactively need to make some steps towards happening. Um, like we said, there's a shift where customer service is moving more towards AI. Again, that's probably more of an opt-in because you can still have telephone numbers, email addresses,
Hmm.
the more traditional stuff. But again, the market is moving, and certainly, like I said, with that young person, the market is moving more to faceless or no interaction. Um, what are the other opt-in slash proactive things that you think you should do as a retailer to kind of make sure that you're not being left behind? One for me is you've got to be a user on the other end of it. Like you can't
Yep.
you can't not be a user of AI and then worry about not being able to service customers because customers are going to be using it. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the stat is again, but like again, I think it's 60% of American households now. I don't know why the stats aren't for the UK, but they always start in the States. 60% of American households are using it week to week for something, which is,
Yeah.
it's an incredible figure, isn't it? 60%. And how
Yeah. I think
many are
it
now
is.
using it for search for products and things like that? If you're not using it and understanding how it works and maybe embracing how agents work and how they're going to find your products and what's going to make your products more relevant to those sorts of things, that's going to cause you a bit of a bottleneck and a problem. Anything
Yeah.
else or anything to add on
And
that?
yeah. Well, just one thing on that. I think the stats can be a little bit deceiving, and I think only because of how broad the term is now. Because
Mm,
AI kind of means everything, doesn't it? There's
mm,
so many different things that could, my other half uses AI all the time for like image and video creation. So that's using it. She doesn't use it for search,
mhm,
or anything to do with ecom. So there's, I mean, obviously there's one. It's only one little case study there, but when you look at that 60% number, it could be everything from somebody using a tool that they don't even know is AI, really, like
fair
a
enough.
chatbot tool on a site, through to image manipulation and kind of funny memes and stuff like that, videos, all the way through to using it for all of their search, and using an agent to build an app for them. So
Mhm,
it's kind of a huge spectrum. So I think it's one of the dangers of this kind of catch-all term of kind of AI, because it just means so many different things, doesn't it? It could be, yeah, any number of things. But I think you're right. I think you can't say we need to go and adopt AI for, or kind of make sure that we're ready to appear in search engine results and stuff like that based on AI searches if you haven't looked at it, haven't used it, don't understand how it feels as a UI and things like that. Particularly if you're a brand that wants to make a decision about whether you want to appear
mhm,
in those searches. We said earlier about luxury brands might not want to opt into that. So, but if you don't understand as a brand owner what that looks like, and what that user interface is, and kind of how it works, you can't really make that call. You can't really make that judgment.
mm,
So yeah, I think there's any number of things, I guess, where you've got to go and understand it a bit more before you can make those calls. Um, like I said, I think the things where you have to go and opt in as a retailer, and proactively go and seek them out to try and innovate and be part of it, I think will become less and less, because I just don't think everything will be labeled up as AI. So I think you'll just start to see that even the people that don't want to go and do that opt in will realize that their chatbot is rubbish because it's, a rule based chatbot from 8 years ago, 10 years ago. So at some point, they'll realize that that is falling behind that experience across their competitors. So they'll go for a new one. When they go for a new one, it'll probably be powered by AI because that's how it will be better.
Hmm.
And then they're adopting it without even knowing.
Mm. Fair enough. And what about things like, if you've got a website, we've seen a new browser come out with Atlas. Is
And
that
comment.
something now you need to be testing your site? Because we always kind of went, right, it's whatever the current Microsoft browser is, and that's pretty much dead and obsolete. You've got Firefox, you've got Chrome, and Safari. Are we now adding Atlas into the testing mix for new sort of pages?
Yeah, we've got to, but I don't think. I mean, at the moment, it's last on the list, along with Comet from Perplexity. I'm not sure of any others yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there'll be a few more shortly until we have that thing where, like you said, the somebody wins or can win. But there is only space for a couple. You've just described there. We've had plenty of browsers. Really, there's only two or three that are actually used at a serious level. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they are in the mix, and we do have to think about them. We do have to check sites on them, and when we're doing new pieces of work for our clients, we do have to check them. But yeah, they're quite low on the list at the moment.
What do you think of like death of the browser? So what death of the user experience? So in 3-4 years time, can you see like there not being a user experience? Can you see there not being a browser? Can you see there being like just asking your agent to go and find you whatever it is you need and it just pulling back results and you just being like a tick box exercise? Yeah, I like that one. I'll have that one. Don't want that one.
But even if you look at like the explainers for Atlas, they I don't know how AI can suggest, kind of this no user interface future, but then bring out a browser. Do you know what I mean? It does. It seems quite odd to go. You won't need websites anymore, but here's our brand new browser. So personally, I don't see it. I think there'll always be a place for it because I think there's too many parts of what we do where in just purely transactional and isn't purely information gaining. So by that I mean purely transactional. That's buying the batteries. Yep, I definitely don't need an interface for that. So there's definitely a place for that being replaced and taken out of the equation altogether. When I say informational, I mean questions and answers. How long should I cook this piece of meat for, or whatever it might be? Quick answers, absolutely. That doesn't need to come from
Mm-hmm.
you know cooking blogs and stuff like it does now in traditional search and even AI overviews. But I still think there's masses in between that we still want that user interface. And the brands still want that user interface. There's complexity, there's nuance, and there's also the other thing that we kind of take out of this equation as well is we think of things as we need to happen. Like all of us as consumers don't enjoy part of the shopping process. We all just hate it and just want to transact. But that isn't the case. If you're buying something you love, a luxury product, a thing that you're really passionate about, it's not a chore. It's not something you want to offload on somebody else. You want to go through that process. You want to go through, it might be the specs of a product that you're really interested in. You might want to do a comparison because you love it. You love the process of comparing those things and deciding which one's best for you and,
Mm-hmm.
doing all those, looking at all the different images and videos and stuff like that. I'm
And get the
not
dopamine
saying
hit.
AI can't do it, but hey,
And get the dopamine hit.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think we're kind of missing all of that at the moment. We're just going, tech exists, so everyone should use it. And I think there is just more to it than that. There's more of a discussion to be had about adoption and who will adopt and why. And just because it exists doesn't necessarily mean that it's everyone's going to want to use it.
I think there's a bit for me where, like, if I think about one of our clients who sells like garden equipment, they one of the big things that we noticed on a lot of Amazon listings when we were doing some competitor research was that they kind of prioritize the warranty information because it's
Hmm.
probably something that has, because of the way you use it and the aggression in which it's used, chopping down bushes or trees or whatever
Yeah.
it is, you're going to buy something and think this could go wrong, this could break, so what's the warranty on it? So Amazon obviously prioritized the warranty so much they put it in the title of the product. So it'd be, I don't know, leaf blower 2-year warranty. And that kind of made me think, well, obviously in their journey, we need to make sure warranty is way more prevalent and way
Hmm.
more upfront. How do you how do you get that across to an AI agent that actually I'm not just looking for a leaf blower, I'm looking for a leaf blower because we'll do that in milliseconds by looking for a website. We'll look and go, right, okay, 2-year warranty badge is there. I can see it's available in two, engine sizes. I want the more powerful one, or I've been upsold the more powerful one because I can see it blows X amount of leaves more per second, or whatever it is. You can make those decisions instantly. Whereas I feel like with that, I'm just going to get bombarded by my agent going, what about this? What about that? What about this? And like to make a
Hmm.
decision on one purchase might be 15 questions that if I just looked at a page, I'd be able to decide in a second or two.
Well,
So
there are
you might slow
subconscious
it
things,
down.
aren't there? Yeah, there are subconscious things, aren't there? Like, I think that's the yeah. Again, just when you think of adoption, you mentioned it earlier. Your AI agent will know that you are always about free. Sorry, quick shipping, not free. So you're happy to pay, but you want it quick all the time. That's a nice general thing.
Mm,
That's an easy applicable rule to all your shopping habits. But like you said, warranty is not the biggest thing you're concerned about when you're buying toilet roll,
no.
but it is when you're buying a lawnmower.
Mhm.
So you've then got to give the extra context to your AI agent based on the individual posts that you're going out to do, which doesn't sound particularly laborious. But like you say, what you could take in with your eyes looking at a website in about a second, you've now got a brief to your agent for them to go and do that for you.
Yeah.
So it does seem like in that example, an unnecessary step. And yeah, like there are certain purchases, I don't want to be entirely on the cynical side. So there's things like reviews where the AI agent's going to be fantastic because it's going to look at those three lawnmowers that you've shortlisted. Sure, you're 4 hours into this process now because you've answered 20 questions and cut out all the ones that don't have warranty and stuff. But at that point, of these last three, what are the reviews like? And that's where the AI really comes into its own because it's going to read, 20,000 reviews for you and give you a brief summary.
Mhm.
But even on site at the moment, most retailers will show AI summaries of results for Trustpilot or FIFA or whatever it might be. So again, you could take that in just with your eyes. There's the summary saying overall, this is what's been said about this particular product.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think personally there'll always be a place for the browser and that kind of interaction directly with the brand or the retailer. Which shows, Amazon is far better in terms of its Prime offering. Even how you shop, it is pretty slick. It's a pretty good process, right? But it doesn't take all of the market. It's a sales chip for retailers and brands. It's not taken over. And I think we have to think of it a little bit more like that. That just because there's a channel which is massively popular, massively prevalent, and probably going to get a huge amount of adoption, doesn't mean it takes over the other thing. You
Mm.
know, LinkedIn is the worst, isn't it? For this is dead this particular week, that's dead a different week because of whatever press releases come out. And I think that's what we need to be careful of is that kind of now AI exists, that means websites are dead. And it probably isn't.
What would you say is that the biggest thing that you would say is almost like a myth for going forwards, that actually we're going to be seeing browser based e-commerce interaction for a lot of years to come, despite the noise of agents and everything else? That's something retailers can kind of cling on to for a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think I had this debate. I think we were on a call and we talked about this a little while ago, which was related to the sidekick tools in Shopify.
Mm,
We were kind of saying, look, that's loads of kind of small pieces of theme editor work that we won't need to do anymore, which will free us up to do, more strategic pieces of work, which is great. That hasn't slowed down for us because just because it exists doesn't mean people are going to use it. And even though it's easier, some of our clients would prefer to come to us and go, look, I've got an idea about 4 or 5 things I want to change. That's kind of all I want to brief. I don't want to go and figure out, based on that brief, what 3 new sections and 12 new blocks I need to make that happen, then use the AI to generate those sections and blocks. I want somebody else to handle that for me.
mhm,
And I think that's probably what we're underestimating or at least the people that are kind of super hyped about this are probably just missing that piece, that adoption piece. Whether it's an AI tool as part of a theme editor and how retailers pick that up, or whether it's adoption from a consumer perspective using direct integrations to avoid websites. I think the adoption bit is the bit we're missing, and so I think you're right. I think there is still a place for the website. I think the myth of there'll be no browsers, no websites. Everyone's just going to be talking to their AI agent, sending them off to do their bidding for them, and
mhm.
yeah, websites won't exist anymore. I think is probably a bit far fetched.
I think for me, the bit that stands out that a website offers me is to allow me to gauge trust and allow me to gauge kind of like the look and the feel of the brand. Sometimes we're not buying just on a process of need. We might be buying on emotion, or we might be buying because we have a problem and we want to understand that the brand solves the problem, not just has the product as the solution, but they kind of live and breathe the solution. And I think that's true when you look at things that might be there for your health or well-being and things like that. So you get that trust perception from how the website's styled and how the website looks. Things like reviews, things like the content that they're putting out there, the language that they're using, and if you bypass all of that and you're just buying, like you say, batteries, well, that's great. But if you're buying something because you can't sleep at night and you need something that supports your head or whatever it might be, like a pillow, or that's probably going to come from you feeling like the brand get you and understand you, not just you've sent an agent out to buy it.
Well, also, if you look at what we're saying there is if we're not really on our own kind of eyes and our feelings about the website when we get there to ascertain whether it's a trustworthy site. So I mentioned that UX study that we did. Just something it never occurred to me that showing payment logos in grayscale, so
Mm.
they weren't in full color, would put someone off because they thought it was dodgy and looked odd. Probably an isolated case, but there are things that we're not even thinking of. Like we've said, trust signals are different for everyone. It could be as simple as look and feel of the site. It could be UGC. It could be just the reviews specifically. It could be all sorts of things. But what we're saying is, if we're not going to do that anymore, we have to fully trust our AI agent
To do that for us.
to do that for us. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen necessarily, but there are still plenty of stories at the moment of AI getting things wrong, really fundamental things wrong. There's even, did you see the Anthropic did that review, didn't they, of Claude and some other AIs were basically, they put them through a test scenario saying that you've taken over like a company's comms, so you do all their email and all of that stuff. And then, to cut a long story short, obviously found out that one of the execs is going to get rid of the AI and replace it. And they're running it like a test scenario. And the AI blackmailed the exec based on his email comms and blackmailed him and said, we won't tell people about this and release this publicly if you keep the AI and don't replace it. And it was a study. Apparently, when when it's in a testing environment, they do that less. But if they tell them it's a live environment, they do it more. So that's great.
Great.
And the other part of it is, I think it went further as well. It was like there was an opportunity to kill the exec, and like some mad num 40% of them actually went for it.
Wow.
But the blackmail thing, it was like a big number, and great for Anthropic to do something like this, I guess, to show how it can be used, and how there are still problems, and there's things for us to iron out. But you can't have that can't exist in the ether right now and then expect people to go, yeah, I'll just trust it to make all my decisions for me. Like that just doesn't coexist at the moment, I don't think. So yeah, until we start getting to a point where, yeah, a lot of the context is not missed and there's not mistakes and there's not this weird self-preservation thing going on, I think then we can get to a position where we can say, an AI agent could be fully trusted to go and do all the things you need it to do. Take all those things into account when making a purchase.
A slower curve to the adoption rather than the race that I'm predicting then.
Well, that's it. It's funny. Me and Ben were saying recently that that's what all this is about. I think is Ben pointed out to me, but he's absolutely right. The only thing up for debate is timeline.
Mm.
I don't think there's any debate, or at least not for me, even as a cynic. There's not a debate about the value that can come from using AI. It's about when, and it's about adoption, and it's about ironing out, potential problems and things that might stop adoption. And other people that are on the evangelist side might be a bit more like, oh, that'll all be fine. It's all happening tomorrow.
I
So
think if
I
you do
think
it
it's
too quick, you're gonna amplify problems, aren't you? It's the same with anything. Like even with a user journey, if you throw loads of marketing at a terrible user journey, you're going to amplify the problem and you're going
the
to waste
problems.
loads of money. If we
Yeah.
all run into AI thinking it's not going to do anything bad, and then it's blackmailing us all like Anthropic
Yeah, that's
example,
right.
we're all in trouble. But yeah, I think I'm agree with you in that it's a slower adoption for the better, really.
Yeah.
But
And
there
I
is a
agree with
race,
you
and
on the
then it is
evangelist
about
side.
adoption and time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree that the value of it is undeniable
Yeah,
in almost every use case that we talked about. It's just the timeline I think we disagree on.
yeah. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this.
No
Mark's
worries.
the head of our client services, so yeah, you look after existing clients for us at Real Agency, and your experience is on the ground with clients that are using AI now, and embracing these tools and working with partners that have these tools. So yeah, it's been great to get your experience today. So thank you.
Awesome. That was really good. Thank you.
Follow the Real eCommerce podcast and visit realagency.co.uk for more e-commerce content like this.